Hello everyone, I'm Gonping, the curator of Taiwan Film Festival Edinburgh. We're really happy that we have Wu-Ching here, who is the director of My Grandmother is an Egg, to join us to do a Q&A. Wu-Ching, can you say hi to the audience?
Hi everyone, I'm Wu-Ching Chang, the director of My Grandmother is an Egg.
Okay. So our audience would just finish watching the film, and there's a couple questions that I personally is curious after watching this, so I'm gonna ask on their behalf. First of all, why do you choose your grandmother as the subject of the film?
Well, when I was a child, my mother and my aunts had always told me about my grandmother had a business of selling eggs, and selling egg is a quite labor-intensive work actually, and all of the children in that family was helping with peeling eggs, carried eggs, and cooking eggs, and they would take the eggs to the restaurant and train station. So I have a very strong impression like my grandmother. It seems like my grandmother has a huge connection with eggs and with the business of selling eggs and egg itself. So that's why I chose the topic. My grandmother is an egg, and that's why I have the subject of my grandmother's story.
Mm, So, like, after watching the film, I feel like this is a film about your family, your grandmother, like your personal story. But also because you mentioned the costume 童养媳, which is something that touches the female rights, gender equality issue. So I just wonder, like, when you made the film, did you intend to bring up this issue in the film, or it was something that come along during the production? I'm telling the story about my grandma, and then I realized, oh, this 童养媳 thing would be something that I can mention as a female right discussion, as a topic. Yeah. So could you share some like insights? Yeah.
Yeah, I intend to do so. I have been interested in the women's operation and women's rights, something like that, the feminism issues for years. And also, I want to make a film about women and also a film with Taiwanese cultural context as well. So there is it. The film, I reached the both of the goals. Well, when making this film, and actually, when I did my master degree at the Royal College of Art in London, I had done some research of feminism in animated short films. The topic, the issues like the women's operation and the patriarchy and the male gaze and the sexual liberation and body autonomy. So I would say the film is based on the research when I was a student at the Royal College of Art, and it take a year to create a dissertation, and it take another year to create the film. So the film is means a lot for me. Actually, the film completed last year, and my grandmother passed away this year. So the film is made for my grandmother.
Yeah. So, so you mentioned like I just want because it's a documentary. I just wonder, have you ever done anything that's not animation but like a live action documentary, like or anything fictional? Have you ever done anything like in other formats of films?
Well, I have done some experimental animation, but it was like a practice. Uh, and I before I did master in at the RCA, I have worked as the concept artist and cinematic artist in game industry. So I do both commercial and independent work, and most of them are animation, illustration, concept art, something like that.
Mm. Yeah, well, you mentioned you do both commercial and independent works. Like, is there any preference? Do you prefer working as an independent filmmaker, or do you prefer working as a in the commercial industry, or you
Yeah, I
think they're
find
just
it's
different?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite different actually, but it's both enjoyable for me. I built my own studio last year in Taiwan, and I do so at the moment I do both commercial and independent work. The commercial work is sometimes quite challenging, but also enjoyable to uh, to make to make my clients to succeed. And also, when I'm doing some independent work, I can decide all of the details like a visual style. So it's both enjoyable for me.
All right. So about animation, well, let's come back to the film. I noticed that instead of just the figures moving around, but each stroke of the hand painting, because the whole film is in a hand drawn style, each stroke is also moving. I would imagine that's really hard to do as when you're making animation. Well, I have zero like experience in making animation, so maybe you can share with the audience like why you want to make it in that style, and is there any difficulty or anything you'd like to let us know? Yeah.
Well, I just want to make the visual more vivid for the audience. I don't want the audience um, to feel boring while they're watching the film. So yeah, as you said, to make each stroke moving will be like um, labor intensive because they make animation frame by frame with that. But it's quite fun for me actually. And I what I can share is like I make animation with X in the peak of this film. That I think audience um, may find out in the very end of this film. All of the egg yolk and egg white they build a wave on the sea, and then they turn back to the eggshell, just like the beginning of this film. So, except for the 2D animation, 2D computer animation, I had it contains a lot of different techniques, and what I can say is like I have some historical archives, like the household transcription during the time of Taiwan under Japanese rule. When I got the household transcription, I find out like my grandmother's name there is uh, there is the identity of 媳妇仔, which means the daughter in law, and I find it's like a her identity is decided by that form. So I put that form in the animation, and then I think because it's documentary animation, so I try to have some historical archives, like old photos. I had old photos of my grandmother, and put old photos on the multiplan, which is the animation equipment. And then there's different layers, so I can paint on those photos to build the metaphor of patriarchy and woman's operation on the photos. So I would say it's a mixed technique animated short film, and it has the metaphor, um, multiple metaphor in the film as well. Like egg is my grandmother, but it's woman, and it's a it's a productive role as well.
Yeah. Okay, so well, in the final note, one last question. Is there anything you hope the audience to take from this film? Like, is there any meaning or, well, not to say meaning, maybe is there any message you want to communicate through this film?
Yeah, so it's my grandmother's story. It's very personal. It's a family story, but at the time, like 70 or 60 years ago, the Tongyanxi, the tradition is quite common in the whole society. So from the personal story, personal witness to the general phenomena in the whole society, I want the audience to glimpse the long past and imagine women's situation in our times and look forward to strive for gender equality in the future. And I also hope the audience may gain a fresh insight into the impact of social norms and the power structure on our daily life. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the film.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, I do agree that, well, we are, as female, we are really lucky to live in a modern society, although there are still issues everywhere around the world. But, well, we just need to fight for a better future for female. Yeah, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope our audience will enjoy the film. And I'm talking to the audience now. If you have any feedbacks, welcome to send us message on social media or email us, and we will be more than happy to forward it onto the director. Right, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.